Hello, welcome back to another Chris G video. So today we're going to be reviewing the Moleskine, however you say it. We're going to be reviewing this watercolor sketchbook. This is the sketchbook that I've been using since about January this year. And now it's April and I'm finished with this sketchbook. All of the pages inside, at least most of them I think. And we're gonna take a look at the sketchbook, and then I'm gonna talk about how I feel about the sketchbook, how I feel about the watercolor paper inside, and also give you a little information on the specs on the notebook. So let's take a look. So here is my Moleskine watercolor sketchbook. The Moleskine watercolor sketchbook is 200 gram, 135 pound, 25% cotton paper inside, and here is what this is what a new sketchbook looks like. So one word of advice: when you go and you want to buy a watercolor album, which is what Moleskine calls it, make sure you get the sketchbook with the pink label on it, like this. There's another sketchbook that they have which is the same landscape type of design, but it has a blue label on it. Don't get that. Alright, that's not what you want. What you want is this watercolor album, which has cold press paper inside, and it's 25% cotton. So the 25% cotton is the equivalent to student grade watercolor paper, and there's 72 pages inside, and yeah, acid free. And this is A5 size paper. Okay, so first let's look at this on the outside. As you can see, the paper does warp. There is some warping on the paper inside, and I'll get to that in a second, why that's happening. So let's open up and we can take a look at some of the things that I sketched. Just some color swatches. As you can see right here, these are just a couple of watercolor sketches that I did. This is the first one that I really kind of started to use some washes. So the paper accepts watercolor decently. I would not advise for you to apply a lot of water and a lot of washes. For example, these two sketches that I did, the one on the left I did light washes on. Most of the sketches is very light, only one wash on most of these areas, and then about maybe like 2 washes on the building. But they're all very, very light washes, not a lot of water, and it worked out decently. On this sketch, I used a lot more water, and it did not accept the ink the watercolor as well. So as you can see, in some places it tended to not blend. You know, the watercolors would blend together, or it would kind of push back on the watercolor. So it didn't accept the watercolor as well when I used a lot of washes on the page. One thing I do like about this notebook or the sketchbook is the way that ink lays down on this paper. The ink on the paper works out very well, and I really enjoy it. Well, it's an ink sketch I didn't really finish. Also, on some pages, this kind of I don't know how to explain it, but the paint would not lay flat when I got close to the gutter of the sketchbook. The paints would kind of start to bead, I guess you could say. They would bead along the gutter of the sketchbook. So sometimes it would be difficult to apply watercolor near the gutter of some pages, not every page, but of some pages. So that's just something to keep in mind. And it's no matter how much pigment I'll put on it. Well, I mean, I didn't want to put too much pigment on it, but the thing was, it's like it just would not lay on the paper. This is just again a light wash, but again on this sketch, a lot of pigment, multiple layers, and the paper started to buckle. As you can see right here, it happened again. As you can see right here, this is what I'm talking about. When you get closer to the gutter of the paper, it tends to do this weird thing where the paper kind of pushes against the watercolor, doesn't want to hold it. Just something to keep in mind. I don't know if that's just my sketchbook. So if you're having that problem, let me know down in the comments below if you're having the problem where the color starts to bead on, doesn't want to lay down near the gutter of these sketchbooks. Let me know down in the comments. This one is one sketch that I did, but I did a lot of layers, I did washes, and I really pushed the amount of water that I could put onto this paper. And it worked out okay, but in some places, let's see if I can get this. In some places, like right here, and again, this is near the gutter area. See, it's doing this thing again, and it does it near the gutter. But yeah, in some of these places, the watercolor just would not soak into the paper, and I'm pretty sure it was just because there was too much water for the paper to handle, and the paper buckled when I did this sketch. For example, it really started to warp and wave because of the amount of water I put onto the paper. So keep that in mind. Do not use heavy washes with this paper. And another thing is, the colors did not bleed through the paper, which is good. There was no bleeding into the next sketch, but when I tried to apply this, when I tried to do this sketch on the opposite side of the paper, I could not put down as much paint as I wanted to because the paint just would not, it wasn't acting right. The paper was not trying to accept the paint. So if you go heavy on one side of this paper, if you try to do heavy on the opposite side, it will, the paper will work against you. It's not gonna work with you. But the tone of the paper is actually off-white. I don't know if you can tell on this video, but it's a warm temperatured sketchbook. So it's not a pure white sketchbook like, for instance, like the Stillman and Byrne Beta series sketchbook is a white, a pure white. I guess it's not pure white, but it's pretty white. I don't know how pure white can get, but that paper is white. And this is warmer than that paper. So the paper does accept ink very well. I love using the not a watercolor brush, but the Pentel pocket brush. And I'll link my review to the Pentel pocket brush right there. And you can learn a little bit more about that. But I love the way that the ink goes down on this paper with that pocket brush. It does really good dry effects because of the tooth on the paper, and you can also lay down nice flat black washes, and it works out really good. So again, I think light washes on this paper works out best. Some of this blooming effects was because just because of the paper again. The paper did not want to hold the watercolor, so you get some blooming effects at times. Let's see. Again, this is the watercolor and the pocket brush pen. I really like the effect of these together. Works out really well. My motorcycle, my moped, I don't even know what it's called. Again, this is another page that I did a really thick wash, a lot of color and a lot of wash, and it warped on me as I was doing this one as well. This is just some fun sketches, tuk-tuks in the local area, the Chinese temple. Overall, I enjoyed this sketchbook. I'm not gonna say I didn't. This was the first sketchbook that I've ever had that was landscape, that I've ever used in landscape. So I started to get accustomed to using it as I got further and deeper into the sketchbook. I started to kind of figure out how I had to plan out sketches to get it to work inside of this type of sketchbook. So I really like the landscape style, and I like how the ink goes down in this paper. So that's it. Again, make sure you stay light on the washes, but it accepts the watercolor paper, the watercolor really well, and it does not dim your colors down. So when you put bright colors on this paper, they hold together and they stay bright. Not that bright, that's focus. Okay. But yeah, so the paper does not dull down your watercolors, which is good. The colors continue to look very nice on the paper. And I definitely recommend it for just a fun sketchbook to work with. Moleskine is a brand that's been around for a long time, and they've been producing sketchbooks for a while. I had fun with this sketchbook, but again, it has its shortcomings when it comes to the amount of watercolor you can put on the paper and the strength of the paper because of the thickness. It's not a very thick paper like inside of some sketchbooks. If you like the video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up, and if you have any questions about this Moleskine Watercolor Sketchbook, make sure you leave them down in the comments below. Also, if you have one of these Moleskine sketchbooks, let me know how you feel about your sketchbook. Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? You know, what did you like about yours, or what did you dislike about it? And also, if you have any alternatives to the Moleskine sketchbook, let me know down in the comments too. What do you prefer more than this Moleskine sketchbook? I would love to know and talk to you about it. So on that note, make sure you hit that subscribe button and check out some of the other videos that I'll be linking on the outside of this page, and stay tuned for more art reviews. Thank you for watching. Peace.